Frutti cheats. Time to pull up a chair. We've got another wild one for you from the Our Lounge. The second your partner starts treating outrageous mother-in-law behavior like, "That's just family," is the second you start rethinking ever getting down on one knee. It was a regular Tuesday in the Our Lounge when everything began to fall apart. My mother-in-law was rifling through my underwear drawer. Wife ignored her mom's house break-in attempt, so I filed for divorce and reported mother-in-law for trespassing. My wife and I had been married 6 years. We met at a friend's barbecue, clicked instantly, and got married after about a year and a half of dating. For the most part, things were good. We shared interests, loved traveling, and hardly fought over the big stuff like money or future plans. The constant thorn in our marriage, though, was my mother-in-law. From day one, she was uncomfortably involved. At first, I tried to be patient. My wife is an only child and they're close, but her concerns slowly slipped into full-on intrusion. It began small. She'd drop by unannounced, sometimes as early as 7 on a weekend, when we told her we had plans. She'd look hurt and say, "I just wanted to see my daughter." I didn't realize that was such an inconvenience. My wife would cave and let her in. Then she graduated to rearranging our home while we were out. We'd walk into a living room we didn't recognize, with my wife's childhood photos mounted where our wedding portraits had been. When I complained, my mother-in-law would insist she was helping, and my wife would tell me not to make it a thing. Conversation about moving in started about 2 years ago. "You know, when I get older I might need to live with you too. That spare bedroom would be perfect for me," she'd say. I tried to deflect. We hadn't planned that far ahead, but my wife would nod like it was settled. The situation crossed a hard line last month when I caught her going through our bedroom drawers. I came home early from errands and found her rifling through our personal documents. She claimed she was looking for a pen, but the drawer held passports, financial statements, and other sensitive papers. That night I told my wife how violated I felt by her mother snooping. My wife waved it off. Her mom was curious and meant no harm. I said going through private documents wasn't curiosity, it was invasive. She told me I was overreacting because she's family. A week later I learned my mother-in-law had taken our spare key and made a copy without asking. I only found out because she mentioned it at dinner. "Oh, I let myself in earlier to drop off leftovers." "Don't worry, I made a copy of the key you gave me last year, so you don't need to give me another one." We'd given her a key temporarily while on vacation, so she could water the plants. We expected to get it back. Turns out she'd duplicated it before returning the original. When I raised it with my wife after her mother left, she didn't see the problem. "She needs access in case of emergencies," she said. I asked what kind of emergency justified entering without our knowledge. She shrugged that you never know. I insisted we change the locks. After arguing, my wife begrudgingly agreed. The next day I called a locksmith, changed every lock, and installed the doorbell camera I'd been meaning to get. My wife texted her mother that we'd changed the locks for security, conveniently omitting that she wouldn't get a new key. Predictably, a week later my mother-in-law called, demanding one. I answered and said no. She erupted and demanded to speak to my wife, who sat beside me but suddenly found her phone riveting. My wife took the call, listened to her mother rant for several minutes, offered some non-committal replies, and hung up. She gave me the cold shoulder all day, but never confronted her mother. Fast forward to last week. I came home from work and found scratch marks around our front door lock like someone had tried to force it open. I checked the doorbell footage. My mother-in-law had shown up around noon, tried the old key, and when it failed she jiggled the handle for minutes, glanced around furtively like she was checking for witnesses, and even shoved her shoulder against the door. Just then our neighbor walked up. My mother-in-law straightened, smiled, pretended she was dropping something off, chatted, and left quickly. I was furious. This wasn't boundary crossing anymore. It was attempted breaking and entering. I waited until my wife got home and showed her the footage, expecting outrage. Instead she said her mom probably wanted to drop something off. When I suggested we call the police, she exploded that it was her mother, not some burglar, and called me ridiculous for even proposing it. I insisted that her mother trying to force our door was trespassing, family or not. She accused me of blowing it out of proportion, and said this was why she hadn't wanted to change the locks, that I was making drama out of nothing. After another sleepless night, I made a decision. If my wife wouldn't defend our home and our marriage, I would. The next morning I went to the police with the video and filed an attempted trespassing report. The officer who took my statement was sympathetic and explained they'd likely invite my mother-in-law in for questioning, but that a first offense, especially with family involved, probably wouldn't lead to charges. That was fine. I wanted it on record and wanted her to know there were consequences. The next day things escalated. My mother-in-law showed up while I was in a video meeting. I could hear her and my wife in the kitchen, their voices getting louder. I tried to focus but couldn't. When I finished and went downstairs, my mother-in-law launched into a tirade about how I was destroying the family and had no right to report her. She pointed at me and shouted that it was her daughter's home too, and she had every right to be there whenever she wanted. I replied firmly that it was our home, not hers, and after her attempt to break in she wasn't welcome unless both of us explicitly invited her. That set her off more. She accused me of being controlling and isolating my wife from her family. My wife mostly stood by, occasionally nodding but not intervening. I'd had enough and told my mother-in-law to leave, suggesting we talk later when everyone was calmer. She snapped that I couldn't tell her when to leave her daughter's house. I reminded her it was my house too and insisted she leave immediately. After more shouting, she finally left, but not before warning my wife that I was showing my true colors, and she should watch out. Once she was gone, my wife demanded I drop the police report, saying things had gone far enough. I refused, insisting her mother needed boundaries. My wife threatened to leave if I didn't. She wasn't welcome unless both of us explicitly invited her. That set her off again. More accusations about how I was controlling and isolating my wife from her family. My wife mostly stood by, occasionally nodding along with her mother's tirades, but not really jumping in. I'd hit my limit and told my mother-in-law to leave, suggesting we talk later when everyone had cooled down. She snapped that I had no right to tell her when to leave her daughter's house. I reminded her it was my home too, and insisted she go immediately. After more shouting, she finally left, but not before warning my wife that I was showing my true colors, and she should be careful. Once she was gone, my wife demanded I drop the police report, saying everything had already gone too far. I refused. Her mother needed to learn to respect boundaries. My wife then threatened to leave if I didn't fix things with her mom, insisting she wouldn't stay with someone who treated her family that way. I looked at her, really looked, and realized something fundamental had broken between us. The woman I married, who I thought would stand with me, was choosing her mother's unacceptable behavior over our marriage. I told her perhaps she should go, because I was starting to believe our marriage wasn't working anymore. She was shocked. "You want a divorce over this?" she asked. I said it wasn't only that single incident but years of letting her mother interfere, of always siding with her, and leaving me feeling unsafe in my own home because she refused to set boundaries. She accused me of choosing property over family. I told her I was choosing respect and trust, things our relationship lacked right then. The conversation ended with her storming out to stay at her mother's. Over the next day she bombarded me with texts, saying I'd ruined everything and chosen property over family. She claimed I'd never really loved her. "If you loved me, you'd accept my mother too," she wrote. The next day I contacted a divorce attorney to learn my options. The lawyer explained the process and what to expect. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, but it felt like the only way forward. When I told my wife I was considering divorce, she reacted with shock, anger, and disbelief. She couldn't believe I'd throw away our marriage over what she still called a misunderstanding. "Your mother tried to break into our home," I reminded her. "Instead of being upset, you defended her and told me to drop the police report. That told me exactly where your priorities are." She accused me of using this as an excuse to end things, claiming I'd always had one foot out the door. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I've been committed from day one. It was her refusal to set limits with her mother that pushed us to this point. Some might say I'm overreacting for ending our marriage over this. To them I say, F you. I don't know what's next, but I do know I deserve a partner who respects me and our shared home, who stands with me when our boundaries are violated. Right now that person is not my wife. The divorce process is starting, and I expect more drama. My mother-in-law is already calling me paranoid. My wife flips between begging me to reconsider and accusing me of betrayal. But for the first time in years I feel like I'm defending myself and what's right. Update: it's been roughly 3 months since my last post. The divorce is moving forward and we're officially separated. After the legal separation agreement was signed, I moved back into our house. The agreement gave me control of the property during the proceedings, which has been a huge relief. My wife moved in with her mother, which, given everything, seems fitting. From what people around town say, they're supporting each other and reinforcing a narrative where I'm the villain who destroyed the family over a misunderstanding. My mother-in-law received a formal trespassing warning from the police and is now legally barred from our property. This happened after she attempted to enter the house again once I'd filed for divorce. The doorbell camera captured her trying windows when she thought no one was home. When I showed the footage to the police, they upgraded the warning to an official order. Our neighbor, who saw the attempted break-in, gave a formal statement for the divorce, confirming my version of events. He described how odd her behavior looked and how quickly she changed when she realized someone might be watching. Family members have reached out trying to sway me. An aunt called crying that I was destroying the family and should be the bigger person. A cousin sent long texts about compromise and imperfection. One of the most unsettling discoveries came when I checked our shared accounts. My wife had been sharing our location data with her mother through a family account. That explained how my mother-in-law always seemed to know when I wasn't home. My wife gave her access to track my movements without my knowledge or consent. I don't regret ending the marriage. I regret not doing it sooner. The divorce is progressing smoothly, and I expect it to be finalized in a few months. I probably won't post another update unless something major happens. Thank you all for the support. Copying keys, rifling through drawers, trying to force a door open. What? It's hard to live with someone who can't see what's obviously wrong. Nobody should be going through your things, let alone a parent. What did she honestly expect to find? It's bonkers. Then your partner defending that behavior and gaslighting you into thinking you're the problem is toxic. Loving someone doesn't mean accepting abusive or invasive behavior from a parent. She got the legal warning she deserved. And your wife, well, she chose her mother's chaos over a healthy marriage. That's her loss. Do you have a similar story? Tell us in the comments below. Thanks for joining us in the R Lounge. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Until next time. And seriously, put your chair back where you found it.